Thought Bubble number 2. Today we're going to talk about a topic that I personally think hasn't gotten enough attention in the mainstream media, and that's the plight of the Rohingya people. The Rohingya people are an ethnic minority who also happen to be Muslim, located in the western province of Rakhine in Burma or Myanmar.
Recently, the UN has declared that the Rohingya people are considered the most oppressed people in the world. So the Rohingya people, and with their sectarian strife with the indigenous population of Myanmar and Rohingya, has caused a great deal of chaos and violence that has erupted in the region.
Yes, in the Rakhine province. The thing with Burma or Myanmar is that recently it's transitioned from a junta government, an autocratic military government that's ruled the country for 23 years, to a semi-democratic government that with recent elections in 2006. So that transition might be derailed by this violence.
And definitely the transition enabled also the liberation of some freedoms at a particular cost. One of those freedoms includes internet. And the internet used to be censored heavily by the state media, but eventually it was uncensored. And so now all this indigenous population is going online and making these very derogatory and racial commentary against the Rohingya people.
Right. What you're seeing is that the internet has become sort of a megaphone for the hate that's always been there towards the Rohingya. You see it on a lot of forums and on the comments on a lot of videos of violence that's happening against the Rohingya. You see comments that are frankly horrifying. People saying, oh, you know, someone getting decapitated is not the worst that can happen to them, you know, that worse things should happen to them. People are claiming that Rohingya should be kicked out, or even that they should be slaughtered.
Which is kind of strange, considering the fact that they've been there since the 8th century.
Exactly.
And so they're part of the land, yet the government does not provide them citizenship. They don't consider them part of the country. They consider them illegal Bengali immigrants, also another derogatory term. Exactly. And also neighboring countries also refuse to recognize them. So in essence, they are a stateless people.
Exactly. And what's happening is that you have this 800,000 people, nearly a million people, which is a lot if you actually look at it, who have no recourse, no other action that they can take. What they end up doing is fleeing to Bangladesh, and Bangladesh ends up sending them back.
What's interesting is that also in Bangladesh, they have 300,000 Rohingya people in refugee camps in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh. They have 2 of them. And so, you know, a lot of these refugees are not even accounted for. You know, a lot of them are starving. They
live in the worst conditions imaginable, and Bangladesh can't possibly afford to take any more in. And what happens when they come into Bangladesh? They're permanent refugees living in horrible, horrible conditions.
Where they're not also receiving citizenship there either.
Exactly. They will never receive citizenship in Bangladesh.
So, I mean, what can the international community do to help this oppressed people? It's a large segment of the population, and you know this just can't go unnoticed.
And the problem is that the Rohingya people geopolitically don't really matter. They're not in the Middle East. They don't have any large superpowers or any strong governments advocating for them. They're a poor minority in a poor, impoverished country being oppressed by the majority population. They have no recourse.
Yet it's really important that Myanmar turns into a stable democratic government, because its stability will help the Asian region be more stable overall. Exactly. And so, I mean, I think it's really important that China and Bangladesh and India they get involved. This is a local issue, but these countries need to step in, and they need to do. They don't need to bring their armies in. I don't think that's going to be the right way.
Yeah, that would be a horrible solution.
Yeah, they need to actually go with the diplomatic solution. They need to have talks with Myanmar. They need to start, telling them that this is not right.
Exactly.
You can't do this.
Exactly, and I think they have more incentives besides the pure humanitarian perspective of it. That these humans, these people are suffering, and we need to help them. Besides that, Myanmar is also a country very rich in resources, and it's all that resources are untapped. India and China can benefit from a stable, democratic, open Myanmar. they can come and help develop the country and exploit those resources.
And although it's a local issue, at least the UN can give a declaration against the Myanmar government for being so quiet on the issue. Because you know what, this is not something that should be hush hush. People need to talk about the serious racism and bigotry against this large population of people that are considered excluded from their country.
Exactly. I mean, I think the UN has to walk a fine line, because they do want Myanmar to slowly open up and complete its transition, and they don't want such a hot topic in the country, because since most people in the country don't like Rohingyas, they don't want to alienate the Burmese, the people from Myanmar. But at the same time, the UN needs to realize that one of its mandates is to protect minorities such as the Rohingyas.
We want to hear from you. Why don't you tell us, what do you think the international community should do for the Rohingya people? This is a large group of people located in a very impoverished state, and they're suffering a sectarian strife within their own country that they have called their own, but the people inside refuse to recognize them for that.
Exactly. Thank you again for joining us, and please leave a video response.